The government has been caught cloud seeding a quote bomb cyclone hurricane. This is in their own documents, their own things that they have released to the public. They are admitting that they have cloud seeded a quote bomb cyclone. And this devastated people's homes. This caused mass flooding. And it even caused casualties, right? And this is important because of what we are seeing happen in places like Texas right now. Also happening in places like New Jersey and even New York City. All right, people in the subways are being flooded out right now. And there's been a lot of conversation around this topic of cloud seeding and if it's significant or if it's not. And I'm going to show you guys government documents proving that this is significant and this does make a difference, and they wouldn't be doing it if it doesn't make a difference. Right? They keep saying it doesn't really matter that we do this cloud seeding, it's not enough to make a difference, and why do they do it? And they admit that it increases rain totals from anywhere to 10 to 20% at least. So let's get into all these details here. All right, we're going to show what's going on in Texas. All right, they have new flooding that just happened over the weekend, Sunday and Monday. New flooding in Texas right near Kerr County, where all this flooding happened before on 4th of July. And we are also getting new interviews from these CEOs of these cloud seeding companies as well too. This guy gave another interview recently, and we're going to talk about it and break it down. But let's get into these documents here, and then we will talk more about specifically what happened in Texas over the weekend. Devastated again, more flooding, and the casualties are in the hundreds. Okay, so this was one of the worst storms in U.S. history, and especially in Texas history. But look at these documents here, right? I wanted to lay this out, and then we will get into more details of what's happening right now too. But look at these documents. Okay, so these are documents from the Santa Barbara County cloud seeding operations website. Okay, check this out. You can see here, Santa Barbara County Public Works. It says one county, one future. All right, this is Santa Barbara County, California, a public website. And look at this, cloud seeding precipitation enhancement operations. And then they have their operational program PDF for every single year that they have it. Okay, and you can see here in 2022 and 2023, when you click on this, it says annual cloud seeding reports. And it breaks down everything that they did, and they index every single time they cloud seeded a storm. Okay, check this out. All right, I was looking through these documents, and they actually admit to cloud seeding a bomb cyclone that hit Southern California or mid-California, Santa Barbara County, on January 4th and January 5th. Okay, this is in their own documents right here. Right, this is on page 59. If you scroll all the way through this, okay, I had it set up here on page 59 on this other tab, and this is in their own documents here of how they cloud seeded this system. Okay, so it says right here, January 5th, 2023, a very impressive system developed in the Eastern Pacific on January 4th, affecting the Santa Barbara County area from the evening of January 4th into January 5th. Figure 5.28 is a satellite image of this very impressive system as it developed offshore on the 4th. And look at this thing. This looks like a hurricane. Okay, and the technical term for this was a bomb cyclone because hurricanes typically don't occur in the winter time because bomb cyclones are mostly pressure driven and hurricanes are normally temperature driven. Okay, but you can see here, all right, this is an article from January 5th, 2023. A cyclone that killed a child in California is battering the state with ferocious winds, mudslides, and even more flooding. So this was already an extreme storm, and then they cloud seeded this storm. And look at how bad this was. All right, devastation, people's homes destroyed, casualties, entire areas washed away, right? Piers, bridges washed away, homes destroyed from this, okay? And in their documents here, it says a large stratiform precipitation band moved into the area on the evening of January 4th. And it says this system brought heavy rainfall rates and strong winds along with relatively warm temperatures and lacked any convective precipitative bands. It says while this initial band was not conducted to seeding, there were seeding operations in the later portions of this event during the early mornings and daytime hours of January 5th. Seeding was conducted from the Harris site during the early morning hours of the 5th as some convective and orographic type precipitation developed. Okay, so they are saying they cloud seeded this early in the morning. And a lot of times they do this at nighttime, actually, so you don't even see it. Actually, a lot of these cloud seeding operations, and there's multiple different delivery vectors for this as well too. They use planes to do it, right? And then they also use ground seeders as well too. A lot of times in mountainous areas, they will put these seeders on the ground up on a mountain that will release the silver iodide or whatever crystallizing precipitative agent that they release into the air. Okay, so this is a real event. This is documented, and you can see the rain total levels here, and it caused devastation. It caused flooding. There were entire farm valleys that were flooded out that used to be lakes 100 years ago and dried out, and then they reflooded from this flood, all right? And they put it here on their documents, all right? And you can even see they put the flight path of the tracking here, all right? So look at this. This is insane. It says flight aware. Let me know what you guys think about this. This is all documented. This is on the Santa Barbara County website, cloud seeding documentation, all right, where they put all their stuff up. And you can even see here, this was the flight path that they took, all right? So you can see the plane doing this pattern, all right? And a lot of times you'll see planes do these patterns where they go really tight back and forth, these lines like this with little loops at the end where they're just going back and forth, back and forth. And a lot of times they are actually cloud seeding. It says here rainfall totals for the January 4th to 5th storm periods were significant, ranging from 1.2 to 2 inches for most of the Twitchell area, and mostly 2.5 to 3.5 in the Santa Ynez area of the southern Santa Barbara County. It says there was a flare burned at the Dos Vistas site of the Santa Ynez area. So that's probably a ground one where they do these releases, all right? They have these cedars on the ground. And it says, although by far the most favorable seeding conditions and the bulk of the operations in this event were in the Twitchell area. So you can even see their flight path here, right? It's all documented. They're letting everyone know what happened, and you can see the rainfall totals right after. They're doing these experiments, these live experiments on the public and on the people. And there's been a lot of pushback saying this is insignificant and it's not a big deal. Then why are they doing this? And why do they have these documents here for every year, right? Going back for decades, showing all of their cloud seeding operations. This is bonkers how much evidence there is here. And also Texas as well too has its own cloud seeding program here. You can see here, this is under the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulations. It says weather modification and control means changing, controlling, or attempting to change or control the natural development of atmospheric cloud forms or precipitation forms that occur in the troposphere by artificial methods. This is on the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation website, right? Anyone can go here and they tell you all about it. They have lots of facts, they FAQs, frequently asked questions, all this stuff, right? They have a map of the rain enhancement projects, and check this out, okay? Right here, it shows the map of Texas and all of their cloud seeding operations and what agency they are under specifically, okay? And we've seen this one guy. We're gonna show this one guy in a minute here. Where is he? All right, the guy with the dude with the mullet. All right, the Rainmaker CEO. that we've been seeing everywhere. I'm sorry, it's kind of like it's hard to take him serious with the mullet, man. What is that? How is this guy? And he's like 25 years old, and he's like the CEO of this rainmaker company, and we're supposed to really trust this guy. I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't seem legit to me that how is he the CEO of this company? How does he own all these planes and drones and all this stuff to do cloud seeding? And by the way, that's only one company, guys. There are thousands of these companies in the United States alone. There's dozens of them in every single state. Okay, so this is just one company, one guy, and he said, "Oh, they weren't doing it. They weren't causing this rain, but maybe it was a different company, or maybe it's a combination of the companies." And it's not really regulated. Okay, it's under the Texas Department of Licensing, but it's very unregulated. All right, I've looked at the applications and everything, and it's like a few $100s, like $500, I think, to apply, maybe even 300, and it's very low regulated. Right, it's not even like you have to submit your pilot license or something to confirm that. It's pretty much you submit the application and you get it. Okay, there's not a lot of regulation around this, and it's not like they're telling them when they can or can't do it. It's kind of their discretion. If they want to do it, they can do it. And you can see here, right, in this green area, right at the top of it, it's Bandera County, and Kerr County is right above that, and that's Kerrville. That's where all this flooding has been happening on the Guadalupe River and this 4th of July stuff, and it's been happening again over the weekend. There was a ton of flooding too in Texas in the same exact area. All right, so this is right next to the weather modification project, the green area for the STWMA. All right, so they are doing operations bordering this county here, and it could potentially be affecting it. All right, I'm not saying it is, and I'm not saying this company is either, but the potential is maybe there. Maybe it's affecting it. We don't really know, and that's the problem. And that's the issue I think that a lot of people have with is that this is kind of a big experiment. All right, yes, they've been doing this for decades, but when is this getting into a range where it's causing issues and it's actually causing people to lose their lives and lose their homes? Right, hundreds of people are dead. We need to have accountability around this issue, and there honestly probably needs to be an investigation into all of these cloud seeding companies to see exactly what they're doing. We can't really just trust what they're saying out in the open, right? And I've been saying this for years, actually, is that people need to take this documentation, right? All this stuff, it's all public, all right? Take this document here showing that they're cloud seeding this bomb cyclone on January 5th, right? And file lawsuits. Get your money. Start suing, okay? I don't really like to go that route personally, but if my home was destroyed and there was evidence of some type of cloud seeding that was going on in the area at the time, or some type of weird burning like related to wildfires, anything like that, I would be looking into it, and I would be talking to lawyers and things like that to get answers and seeing what we can do, and maybe filing class action lawsuits or whatever to get this to stop, because that's how it's going to stop, is taking people that have real damages from this. People's homes are destroyed, people's lives are destroyed, their jobs are destroyed, some people, their children are gone, okay, from this. This is devastating. There's over 20 kids at this one 4th of July, at this Christian summer camp on 4th of July. All right, it's devastating. I'm getting just like chills just thinking about it, because it's so sad. It's so sad. And nobody should have to go through that. All right, and I've gone through, you guys know, I've gone through, not exactly, that's, there's no way to compare losses, but, I've had personal losses too recently. And just even thinking about that, losing your kid at summer camp where you think they're safe is just, it's devastating. All right, and it's, you think they're safe there, you think they're fine, they're having fun, and then you get the call, right? And this is happening. So it's very devastating, and people have real losses and damages from this stuff. and they need to bring this documentation and bring this evidence. People in Texas, bring this evidence, show this program to a lawyer, show this map, start digging if you have damages from this, and maybe try to get something from this. Okay, they need to stop this, and that might be the only way to get them to stop it, because even all these states are like passing laws. Tennessee, you can't cloud seed, you can't release. But then people, I see comments all the time, people saying it seems like they're still doing it. They're still doing it. It's still going on. And there's multiple different programs. There's cloud seeding. There's solar radiation management, where they block out the sun. All right, stratospheric aerosol injection, where they release things like sulfur dioxide into the stratosphere to create film layers to block out the sun, almost like a chalky white substance similar to like a volcanic eruption. That's kind of what they're mimicking, sulfur dioxide being released into the air and blocking out the sun to potentially, quote, cool it. Right? There's all these programs going on in congruence at the same time. So it's hard to even tell exactly what they're doing. If you see something in the sky, it's like maybe they're doing solar radiation management, maybe it's cloud seeding, maybe it's maybe it's cloud thinning. All right, there's also cloud thinning. All right, this graphic here, just a couple different ways. Cirrus cloud thinning, stratospheric aerosol injection, marine cloud brightening. There's 3 different techniques right there on top of cloud seeding that they are doing in the environment with the weather, manipulating the weather and doing these experiments, and we're not sure exactly what they're going to do long term. All right, so if you're in Texas, if you're in these areas, look into these programs, and I'm serious, like you should maybe talk to somebody about it and see what a lawyer thinks. You're gonna have to have the right type of lawyer, but it might be worth looking into and considering if your relatives were hit by this or you were personally. Let's look at what's going on in Texas a little bit, and then we will listen to what this Rainmaker CEO dude has to say in a minute too. But let's listen to this.
A growing wall of flowers and crosses honoring the victims of the horrific flash flooding in Texas over the 4th of July holiday. The death toll, it now sits around 130. And there are more than 170 people that are still unaccounted for. More flooding rain over the weekend and even into the earlier part of this week has been halting some of those search efforts. Kerr County officials posting on social media just yesterday afternoon, urging volunteers to leave the area around the Guadalupe River as it started to rise once again in Hunt, Texas. Hunt, Texas, if you remember, is in the area where we had some of the worst, most extreme flooding around the river. Officials also asking crews to move to some higher ground. That included our Katie Byrne, who shot this video you're looking at here. Thankfully, the ground that included...
You see this here? This was Monday. This was yesterday. Recording this Tuesday. This was Monday in Kerrville, Texas. It's still flowing. It's still flooding. What's going on here? This is Texas. This is things we've never seen before, really, in these parts of the country. New York City flooding. I saw people in the subway systems and the subway cars, water just flowing up, filling up the underground, the subway. So what do? You're just kind of trapped. You're stuck in these tubes and there's nowhere really to go and the water's filling up, right? Very weird things are happening, and these programs are happening too at the same time, and I think potentially they could be connected.
Our Katie Byrne, who shot this video you're looking at here. Thankfully, the Guadalupe on Monday did not come close to the level that we did see on the 4th of July, but as search operations continues, communities are trying to clean up any debris, trying to sort through homes and businesses that were destroyed, but also their livelihoods that were also destroyed in the result of catastrophic flooding. And some much needed news, at least when it comes to the forecast. We are looking at a drier weather pattern, especially for Texas Hill Country. It has been plaguing this part of the state for the past week or so. We had a little bit of a break late last week, and then the rain returned for the latter part of the weekend. And a lot of these storms have triggered some heavy rain, and with not a lot of forward movement We've seen scattered instances of flash flooding, even this morning watching some rain pushing through portions of hill country. The pattern change that we're looking at, this is going to be as a result of some dry air pushing in, is that high pressure also shifts a little bit further off to the west.
Yeah.
So for Thursday, with less of a chance of seeing organized rain, somewhat organized, it means that will allow those temperatures to go up. But
yeah, I mean, we'll see how hill.
All right, so that's what's going on in Texas. Still flooding there, still going on. And check this out too. I thought this was pretty interesting because Florida actually passed a law saying that they're not going to allow weather modification over their state. But people are saying they're seeing it all the time still, right? But now there's also been a order to report any, quote, weather modification activities, right, for airports. It says Florida airports soon must submit monthly reports on weather modification activities or face a loss of state funding under a controversial new law derided by critics as fueling conspiracy theories, right? That's what they're saying. But it's not. It's like the government itself is saying this is happening. They know it's happening. And certain states are actually trying to stop it, right? It's not fake. These are real programs. These things are really going on. Cloud seeding, blocking out the sun, all these programs. And they've been announced publicly from the state level, county level, all the way up to federal government levels. We've seen this even the UK announced a few months ago they're going to start blocking out the sun. Okay, this is a global initiative. This is happening all over the place, and it's experimenting with our weather and with our water supply, which means potentially with our food supply too, and also people's homes and livelihood. And something to consider as well too is water has to come from somewhere. Okay, so when they cloud seed, they are potentially displacing water that should have been somewhere else. So potentially this water, this moisture, this humidity, this system would have, the water from it would have made it to a different state, would have went somewhere else, or it would have dissipated, would have been absorbed a different way, or fallen, precipitated over a different state, a different area. But with the cloud seeding, they're forcing the clouds to become saturated with water that potentially wasn't really supposed to be there in the first place. And they're potentially stealing rain from certain places where it's supposed to go, and also the places where they're cloud seeding over, they're potentially stealing moisture from the environment, right? If the environment naturally is not humid enough or moist enough to create its own clouds, then cloud seeding might, in the long run, actually make it more dry because it's kind of like sucking the sponge out. Okay, it's sucking the moisture from the earth, from plants, and putting it into the atmosphere when it wasn't supposed to be there to begin with, right? So a lot of these nuances here that we're not sure exactly what is going on, right? There's a lot of experiments, and it's unchecked with these companies. It was one thing, decades ago when it was mostly just the government doing it or the military doing these experiments. Now we have probably 1,000 different cloud seeding companies in the US alone that are doing these experiments, right? So the effects are going to potentially cascade, and they're potentially not coordinating either, right? Maybe one company's doing it and then the other company's doing it at the same time, amplifying the effects. Who knows how much? It's one of these things. It really needs to be regulated. Maybe a moratorium, maybe a pause on it for 10 years to see what happens, to see if we really need this. And if we don't, if it seems like there's been no benefit from these programs, then maybe we should just stop them altogether. Okay? There needs to be some kind of change and stop to this so they can figure out exactly what's going on, what's the long-term effects, and also long-term too, is this affecting the weather patterns? Okay, long-term. So natural weather patterns that occur every year, every few years, they might be being disrupted from cloud seeding as well too. Like I said, because it's displacing the moisture. Maybe this moisture was supposed to keep going and get to Missouri, but or Arkansas, but now it's in Texas instead, right? So all these little variables that are really unregulated and unaccounted for. It says Florida Attorney General James Uthmeyer wrote to operators of public airports on Monday that their compliance is needed to, quote, catch those who seek to weaponize science and will safeguard the atmosphere from, quote, harmful chemicals and experiments. Quote, we need your help to keep our state free and make sure the skies belong to people, not to private contractors, corporate experiments, or climate extremists. It's true, we really have no control over this. And we really don't know exactly the chemical concoction that they are releasing. They say, the majority of it is, quote, silver iodide for cloud seeding, but what about stratospheric aerosol injection? They have multiple different chemicals, one of them sulfur dioxide, which creates sulfuric acid. That's what I was thinking, when it interacts with the rain, right, and sunlight. When sulfur dioxide mixes with water, it creates sulfuric acid, which creates acid rain. There's all these things that are unchecked. We really don't know exactly what they're releasing over our heads. We're potentially breathing it in. It's potentially getting on our food, on our crops. And there's no consent. It's just like this company is doing it on this day, and just deal with it. Okay. And some people have even reported like respiratory issues and problems, right? I'm not saying that's confirmed, but people have, hundreds of people in my comments have mentioned it over the years that this is something that they've experienced. Okay. And it says, quote, we need your help to keep our state free and make sure the skies belong to the people, not to private contractors, corporate experiments, or climate extremists. He wrote, quote, in Florida, we don't jeopardize the public health so that we can bend the knee to the climate cult. All right. And a lot of the reason why I say that, because a lot of this stuff has been framed that it's like to save the environment or whatever. But if it's really doing that, then why are we seeing all these crazy floods and this crazy weather? It's been worse than ever. We've seen more extreme hurricanes and flooding and hurricanes in places we don't typically have it, like North Carolina. We're seeing this more and more than ever. 100-year floods happening every year, right? And things are getting worse. So whatever they're doing, it doesn't seem like it's helping, right? So maybe we need to put a pause on it. And I think I think it's becoming more mainstream that this needs to be put in check. It says, signed by Governor Ron DeSantis in June, the law prohibits the release of any substance into the atmosphere in Florida that seeks to, quote, alter weather, temperature, climate, or sunlight intensity. Critics, though, say state officials are seeking to address a non-existent problem and burdening airports with an unproductive mandate. Among the conspiracy theories is the long-standing notion that aircraft condensation trails are actually, quote, chemtrails consisting of chemical agents sprayed for nefarious purposes. All right, they like to use that word to really discredit it, but these are all real things: cloud seeding, stratospheric aerosol injection, cirrus cloud thinning, and marine cloud brightening. So if anyone ever comes to you with that like little word to like shut you down, bring up these terms. These are all scientific, real terms, admitted things that are happening right now. All right, those are the real words for it. And they use this word. I don't even like to say it because it's kind of like a psyop. They use it to discredit people, right? And to discredit the notion that this is even happening at all, right? They take this obscure point and try to discredit the whole thing. And it's like, no, the cloud seeding is happening. Solar radiation management is happening as well too, and potentially other experiments are happening as well that we don't even know about. All right, so let me know what you guys think down below. All right, it looks like I'm having a little bit of issues playing this video with this Rainmaker CEO, but maybe I'll try to get that out in the future, right? But it's not working right now, so let me know what you guys think down below. Thank you guys again for all the support, all the love, and everything just the past few months, and sticking with me here. I really appreciate it, and I'm going to try to get back on a schedule here, posting consistently, keeping you guys updated. Right, I'm trying to get back in the groove and get back, to quote normal. Right, that's what we're trying to do around here. So I appreciate you guys supporting me, sticking with me, all the love, all the support, all the prayers, all of that. I really appreciate it over the past few months, and I'm thankful for it. So thank you guys, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.